I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking about a wonderful book. It is called How to Connect with Your Grandchildren During a Pandemic. It is written by a delightful author, Cheryl Van Cleave, affectionately known by names such as Grandma, Grammy, Graham, and Graham Cracker. She delves deep into the heart of
It's
family bonds with an extensive background in education and a storied history of community involvement. Her insights and experiences provide a touching guide to staying close, even when miles separate you. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by buying her book, How to Connect with Your Grandchildren During a Pandemic. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
you, Mr. Crawford. I'm glad to see you. I've watched some of your previous interviews, so I kind of feel like I knew you, and I knew you looked familiar,
Yep.
but I have seen Blue Bloods and uh, Blacklister, and I thought, okay, that's where I've seen you.
Yep. I'm often throwing those tough questions at Tom Selleck, when he's playing Commissioner Reagan during the press conferences. So we have some good times. And James Spader's a great guy as well. So those are two fun shows that I'm on. But I'm a big fan of yours as well because I love this book. Tell us your inspiration behind the book, why you decided to write it.
Well, I have been a teacher and assistant principal for a long time, so all I've written were reports, and you never put your feelings into reports.
Mhm.
So it was hard for me to do. But when the pandemic came, I really missed seeing my grandchildren. So I had to figure out ways to do that. And even though we all live in the same area, it's like everybody was staying in their homes. So I decided, how can I connect with them? So I would use phone calls or on Zoom or on uh, tweeting and different ways or sending them pictures. But it was hard to do because I am not one of these geeks that can use a computer. And I had a computer that wasn't working right. And I couldn't get the pictures and the computer and everything together and put it on a book. And I really was frustrated. But I managed to do this, but I was only doing it for my grandkids. And
Mm.
so first it was typewritten copy, but since I didn't have any current pictures, I had to go back into the pictures that I had. So pictures that were in the book were even older. And then I would pull them out and because nobody's dressed in their finest or anything. It was if I was at ball games or at their house or seeing them dance or whatever, I was taking pictures. So, okay, I can use this one. I can use that picture. And then trying to put them together and then talk to them on the phone or like Amy, who is 9 now, but was like 5 at the time. She I would be taking pictures of her doing things at her house,
Mm.
and she would be creeping around the house and trying to scare her parents. But I got to be part of that, even though I wasn't at their house. And she'd
Right.
say, shh, you don't tell them. And then she'd go scare them and say, boo. And just to be a part of something, it wasn't as good as being there, but I could do that.
Yeah, it's not as good as being there, but it's the next best thing, particularly during a lockdown when you really are craving these kids so bad. You want to see them so bad. So even to see their little faces on the screen feels good, and to play a little bit with them on the screen feels good as well. So lockdown must have been tough on you. You were used to seeing your grandkids, and then you couldn't see them nearly as frequently as you did, right?
That is true. I was able to see a few ball games that Wyatt or Brody were in, but even at baseball games, we're wearing a mask and you're
Yeah,
6 feet apart from each other. Or in wrestling, they even took wrestling and put it outside where you don't usually see wrestling. It's always in a stadium.
right.
And so the separation, you just don't get to see them. You see
Yeah,
them playing,
right.
but that's it.
And you don't get
And
to scoop them up in your arms like you used to. And the need for touch is so great, and you realize that during times like the pandemic.
true, very
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So what's it been like now? Do you still use your technological strategies to connect with your grandkids? Or are you able to see them more? Tell us a little bit about that, or maybe it's a combination.
Yes, I try to do that. And Brody, it surprised me. He's in college now, but he called me once a couple years ago, just as we were getting out of the pandemic. And he says, Grandma, can we have one of these get togethers again? Like we used to have, like once a year, because my children are all very busy. My grandchildren are busy. And so we don't often get together, and then we have different faiths, so different religion, different political platforms, and we're lucky if we get together once a year.
Right.
So when we do get together, here are some of the things we do is we are playing maybe charades,
Hmm.
and like a couple years ago we had one at my house, and we had like one group in the living room were playing, it's something like password, but I can't remember the name of it. But you sit in a circle and every other person is on a team, and you're whispering a word, and then you have to motion what it is. It's like password, but the people on your team have to guess, and you have like 1 minute, and you got to get rid of the. Well, I can't hear that well, and I can't see that well. So I had to have somebody on the opposing team. My daughter-in-law was telling me the word, and I'm trying to do this, and I thought, okay, I got to find something I can do where I can see and I can hear. So I go to another group. The little girls are playing with dolls and cartoon characters, and I don't know what they're doing. Another group in the bedroom playing the video games, and I thought, okay, that won't work. Then I find three others that are playing hide and seek, and I thought, okay, I can do this. And so I watched them, and I was just laughing because my granddaughter Brooklyn was hiding in a cabinet, and then my grandchildren Ryan and Sawyer were looking for her. And every once in a while, she'd knock from inside the cabinet, and they'd go running to the door thinking she's outside, and they'd look around. And it was all I could do to contain myself and not laugh, but it was just so much fun to have them all together.
Yeah.
And they pair up and they're in this group and move around and they're in somebody else's group. So I just enjoy everybody being together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. And like you said, with different family schedules, different pressures on different families, it's hard to get people together as often as families used to come together. So when they do get together, you really do appreciate it because it's such a gift, to see your generations of
True.
family before you, right?
It is. And I can tell you one other thing that Brooklyn just graduated from high school a year early at 17. So we just had her graduation party. I'd say my daughter had the graduation party Sunday. And you go there, and they had one room where you could just go in and dance, and they had another that was an escape room, and then they had one with all the food, and another where people were there. Well, it it got together. My one son and one daughter and several grandchildren. We were in the escape room, and Dakota, who is 6 right now, or seven, she happened to be our internal spy because she knew where people had put things. And she says, look at it. There's a book up there and it's blank. It's a phony book. And she said, look up there. There might be something in there. Or they have phony keys, pretend keys that they're putting. And I thought, man, she's like a secret spy, 7 years old.
Yeah,
And so these are the things that I had missed before. Needless to say, we never got out of the escape room, even with, I don't know, 6 of us in there, and even with a spy in our midst, I don't think we got out. They finally had to let us out.
that's
But
funny. But being there with
yeah,
a 7-year-old, I think is the best type of equipment you could possibly have because they definitely can deduce things better than us seniors.
yes.
Yeah,
And there is I have my granddaughter Amethyst, who is one who will call up and say, Grandma, you want to hear a joke? And she's 9 now. So I've been listening to her jokes now for a few years. So I called her or texted her last night and asked if she had any new jokes that I could tell. So I just wanted to tell you a couple that she has. And
sure.
one of, are you okay? All right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to talk too much. I'll
Oh, no,
let
no,
you
I'd
talk.
love to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she said, what did the stoplight say to the car? Do you know? Don't look, I'm changing.
That's great.
But she makes these up.
Oh, that's
They,
cute.
yeah, and she's been doing this for a few years. So, another one was I have to look because I'm not very good at remembering these things.
Sure, no
Okay.
worries.
uh, what do you want to hear a joke about a piece of paper? I said, okay. And she says, never mind. It's terrible.
That's great. That's great. She's really
At
cute. How old is she?
9, but she's been doing this for about 4 years
That's great.
with these jokes. And you can never tell. And if she does tell you somebody else's joke, she will give you the source. I
Gotcha.
mean, she's that good. I said, well, how'd you hear that? Oh, on this cartoon, or I read it on this. But here is one that was a stumper because usually I don't fact check hers. She said, where would you find a skeleton key on a skeleton?
Don't know.
I, I said, yeah. And that's what I said. I don't know. And she told me right here. And that is like the clavicle,
Hmm.
it's collarbone. But I had to look this up. I said, did you make this up? Yes. And so I look it up. And sure enough, they also call that like the skeleton key. And in one picture, it showed a bunch of keys hanging from
Huh.
that. So it has 3 names. So I went to the chiropractor's office and I asked them, do you know what part of the skeleton has a skeleton key? And none of them knew it either.
And that's their trade, so they should know for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's what she finds out. And I think that the one I haven't mentioned yet is Sawyer, and he is one who is he takes the pictures and he runs the cameras and the things behind the scenes for the sports and
Hmm.
for skits. And he makes up his own skits and puts them on YouTube. So they all have their own things, and I think it's great that they're all original in what they're thinking. And
Yeah, and they've all got some original names: Amethyst, Brooklyn, Sawyer. Those are all great names. So your kids did good jobs of naming their kids names that stand out, which is wonderful as well.
yeah,
And we're so happy you wrote this book. It is called How to Connect with Your Grandchildren During a Pandemic. It is written by Cheryl Van Cleave. She is a grandma, and she is also an educator, and she is also a person who's been dedicated throughout her life to the community. And she has written this wonderful book about how she stayed connected to her grandchildren during the lockdown. And it will give you ideas about how you can stay connected with your grandchildren or your children or your nieces or nephews or whomever you want to stay close to in your life by using electronic means at times. They can be helpful tools indeed. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
I just wanted to show you this
Sure.
book is one that all my grandchildren autographed on here. So they like Wyatt says he wants to be a professional baseball player. He's, oh, this will give me practice for when I have to autograph.
That's
And
wonderful. That's
so
great.
I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, it's a beautiful cover. You must be proud of those grandkids, and I'm sure they're proud of you as well, particularly since you wrote that book that is dedicated to them. Thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight, Cheryl.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye.
To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.